All right. Hey, what's up, everyone? So Fidelity just put out a report discussing how institutions are adding Bitcoin on their balance sheet and how it's become a strategic reserve asset. And I wanted to break down the report. You can see here, it's pretty long. There's a lot of good points, and I wanted to break this down and just share some of the ones with you that stand out to me. And I put together just a quick presentation to make this easy and digestible in a video format. So let's go ahead and dive in. So first off, Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation and currency debasement. MicroStrategy, as a lot of us know, invested $250 million in 2020, and Tesla put $1.5 billion in early in 2021. And the reason MicroStrategy did this is because they were a bit of a zombie company, if you will. They had 40, 50 million in yearly cash flow. Back then, I think it was 75 million. But what do? Do you buy bonds? Do you buy back your stock? And one thing Michael Saylor has made clear is when you buy back your own stock, you're decapitalizing the company. You're saying, we don't know what to do with this money, so we're going to buy our own stock. And if you give a dividend, buying back the stock's not decapitalizing the company. Buying the dividend, giving the dividend out is decapitalizing the company. And buying back the stock is just a signal that you don't know what to do with the money. So do you give money back to people and say, we don't know what to do with the money? Or do we just buy our own stock and hold it? Next, protection from geopolitical risks. El Salvador, very early on, they realized that going through the IMF and the World Bank, one of the biggest things and the problems is if we take loans from these banks, predatory loans, mind you, what happens is you end up giving away natural resources and the key and critical things that made your business or made your country successful, that contribute to your GDP. So versus taking these predatory loans at high rates and giving away key resources, El Salvador did something different. They mine Bitcoin with their volcanoes. They buy Bitcoin and put it on their state's balance sheet, and they cleaned up their country. They've basically gotten rid of crime, and it's become one of the safest places in the world. And Bhutan's been secretly accumulating Bitcoin through its sovereign fund. So pretty big. Macroeconomic shifts. Square, they bought some Bitcoin, and making the reflection here of Tesla again. Post 2008, I think the bailout back then, what was it, 800 billion? It was like under $1 trillion, and now we're bailing ourselves out to the tune of like multiple trillions, like we saw in 2020. And it's only going to get worse. The money supply in April of this year, it actually things that are making the world more innovative, and it's creating deflationary pressure, like we've seen. It appears as though our GDP is going down, our gross domestic product. But what's actually happening is we are becoming more productive. We're able to focus and do more productive things and allow machines to do these things which are not as value adding for us. So what does that mean? It means we are going to start printing more. In 2008, we printed quite a bit. In 2020, during COVID, we print a ton. And for lack of a better word, you ain't seen nothing yet. GameStop, they've diversified and added some Bitcoin to their treasury. And the free market, right after they bought their Bitcoin, the price dipped. They said they're not going to be open about their buying, and they're going to do it, not as publicly as others, where those like Metaplanet, they're very open with their buying and their strategy, and they're doing 0% convertible notes, and they're all in on Bitcoin. And just this week, they've announced that they are, and shared public data, they are the #1 most traded stock in all of Japan. And they're one of the most volatile, and that volatility creates upside for them. Liquidity. Coinbase, as you guys know, it enables 24/7 trading of digital assets. And Coinbase and Kraken both have gone through acquisitions in the last year, buying publicly like equity platforms, and they're working on tokenizing those and adding 24/7 trading to equities markets via their platforms. And this is where the world's going. People want 24/7 access to markets, and that's one thing Bitcoin enables, is you can trade it 24/7. You can buy it, sell it, and there's always a market that is open. And this is very powerful. And this is why we see Bitcoin be very reflexive to what's going on in the world. And it moves swiftly with what's happening versus the stock market, which whenever it's closed, people can't trade. So we are going to see all markets come on top of Bitcoin and the Lightning Network or crypto broadly. And you can see Galaxy Digital is one example. They use Bitcoin's 24/7 nature to manage their cash positions. Growing institutional adoption is a big piece. We've covered MicroStrategy a bit and Tesla, but across the board, we know BlackRock is buying Bitcoin for their customers via the ETF. Fidelity is, and just this week, BlackRock was listed as the number 23 most bought ETF of this year. And the BlackRock ETF was actually the fastest growing ETF all time, far faster than gold. So the institutional demand for Bitcoin is here. And one other nuanced point about MicroStrategy is MicroStrategy has now started dominating the convertible bond market, meaning selling a financial instrument to bond investors, which later translates into equity. So it allows them to participate in Bitcoin's upside while still buying a bond instrument that meets their portfolio needs. Technological innovation alignment, Block listed here. One of the coolest things about Block and what they announced at Bitcoin 2025 was that they make up about 8% of all of on-chain Bitcoin transactions. Cash App has built an incredible product where you can buy, sell, save in Bitcoin. And what's really interesting is beyond making up 8% of on-chain transactions, they have about 25% of their outbound payments from their app going to customers over Lightning. So 25% of those are happening over Lightning. And one of the interesting things of how the Lightning Network works and how you can have this, real yield and earn money via Lightning is because they're sending so many payments out to their customers. They have a lot of what is called inbound liquidity. So because it's a peer-to-peer network and money can flow through them, because they have this inbound liquidity, those who want to send money, that money can flow back through Block's node. They charge a fee and then flow to the next peer in the network. So their yield is 9.79% on 183 Bitcoin. So they're earning just over, I think, like 10 million a year now, just routing payments for the Lightning Network. And the reason they're doing this is they have prioritized Bitcoin and Lightning. They've gone to market and made it great for their customers. And now, due to the rapid adoption of Lightning, they are capitalizing on their early adopter status, and they're earning an extra 10 million in revenue a year. So capital appreciation, we all know this. If you look at any timeline for Bitcoin's CAGR, the compound annual growth rate, it could be anywhere from 40 to like 62%. And MicroStrategy, they went from a $1 billion company to $108 billion company as of today. And Metaplanet, as soon as they did their strategy, they jumped 275%. And one of the funny things about the Japanese market is whenever a stock pumps 50%, they shut it down. Metaplanet did that again and again and again in a row. And now they've become one of the most desirable stocks. I believe in 2024, it was the most successful global stock, entire planet. Pretty incredible. So if you want capital appreciation, making Bitcoin critical to your strategy is important. And the great thing about Bitcoin is it's transparent, it's auditable. So River has created a proof of reserves where when you're using their platform, you can go and see an on-chain footprint that your money is not being rehypothecated. Rehypothecated means like what banks do, where when you deposit $100 into the bank, they lend that over 900 times and lend your money out. So now they're lending out $900 or so. This is critical because in other countries in the past, what's called a bail-in is when banks go tits up and they just fail. They bail in and take the money from depositors. So this is a major concern for a lot of us who understand Bitcoin. And the reason why we use Bitcoin is we don't want to be subject to third parties. We don't want to be subject to counterparty risk. So having transparency and auditability is very attractive for those who understand the risks of central banks and fiat money. Moving on, regulatory adaptability. One of the greatest things we've seen is U.S. regulators are actually standing up for Bitcoin and what it stands for, protecting our right to hold our own keys, the right to use a digital wallet. And we're even seeing the SEC, the OCC, and the Fed governor say that, banks can run Bitcoin nodes and banks can start to work with stablecoins. Now, while all the digital asset frameworks are not perfectly rolled out, the fact that all of these different government organizations are stamping their flag saying, we want innovation, we support this, let's get a digital framework is huge. So this regulatory adaptability is what's making it possible for now big banks and institutions to use the asset. And what we'll begin to see, a little futurist thought, is we will see more Bitcoin on balance sheets, and we will also then begin to see how do we use Bitcoin as working capital, or how do we generate yield from Bitcoin in a non-custodial way over Lightning, like we are seeing Cash App do. So those who have a successful Bitcoin go-to-market for payments will create potentially tens to hundred millions of revenue by leveraging the Lightning Network. Stakeholders expect Bitcoin. We've seen many cases where MicroStrategy has become, one of the best performing, if not the best performing stock as of today, in 2025. And in 2024, it was number one. MetaPlanet was number one globally. Strategy was number one in America, and they're in a position to be added to the S&P 500, which I believe adds 200 billion in like Bitcoin flows or so. Don't quote me on that, but it's a pretty substantial number being added to the S&P. But stakeholders expect Bitcoin strategy. And in these two examples, Tesla, they got a little flack for it, but they also got praise. And Meta, they voted basically no. 95, 96% of their shareholders voted no. But what we're seeing in public equity markets is the MetaPlanets, the MicroStrategies, the Blocks, and many of these others like Similar Scientific and these other companies, whenever they add a Bitcoin balance sheet to their business, they start to see volatility, which creates option volume, which creates more potential upside for the business, and shareholders want it. In a world where yield is needed and where people want to earn more than what is found in the S&P and what is found in just the NASDAQ stocks. If you look at the FANG stocks and all the tech stocks, they make up like 95% of returns. If you remove all the FANG stocks from the publicly traded stock market, the stock market doesn't go up. It's actually terrible to invest in. Competitive financial strategies. So one of the most interesting things, Trump just literally 4 days ago, they announced they're selling some of their stock, Trump Media, I think $2.2 billion, and they're going to put that into a Bitcoin balance sheet strategy. And the Trump family, they have been debanked before. And if you want to win in the modern world, you're going to have to do something along the lines of Bitcoin or AI. These deflationary tools are absolutely necessary to survive in modern times. And when it comes to financial specifically, not thinking of AI, there's nothing better you can do for your business than add Bitcoin to the balance sheet. So new emerging financial products, one of the coolest things and like what we're building at Voltage is the capability for businesses to build on top of Bitcoin and the Lightning Network and create novel payments experiences. And some of those are being seen firsthand within Cash App. And you're able to send micropayments to users. You can send global instant money with near zero fees. And what Coinbase has done is they've built, a larger set of products across altcoins, staking, they have custody, they have trading abilities, but these financial products are high in demand. People want to earn yield on their product. People also want to simply hold Bitcoin, and these financial products are in incredible demand. And the tax benefits, from a corporate level, the convertible debt, it leads to deductions to offset taxes. And Tesla, one of the things they can do is whenever they gain profit from their Bitcoin, which they sold some of theirs, it went up a lot, and they sold some of their Bitcoin. Even some of my businesses that I participate in, whether it be Voltage or some of my personal businesses, when Bitcoin goes up and we need working capital, we sell it. Some of these Bitcoin holdings we have are up 300%, 400%, 500%, and it gives us more runway. It helps us survive. And one of the greatest things is that businesses who do save in Bitcoin long term, they tend to have to raise less rounds. There's many, Jonathan from 1031, they're a venture capital firm that invests in Bitcoin companies. They're startups who raised capital and then saved in Bitcoin 2-3 years ago. Their balance sheets are bigger now than the actual round that they raised. So I'm going to say that again. These companies that have saved in Bitcoin over a long enough time horizon, the money on their balance sheet now is bigger than the initial round they raised in their Series A or their seed stage of the company. So that is meaningful. People are catching on to this. There is a digital future coming. BlackRock, they've obviously launched their ETFs, and Larry Fink has been talking a lot about the tokenization of assets, bringing public equities to being tokenized and having 24/7 trading. And one thing Fidelity has done, they've been in Bitcoin mining since 2014. They're one of the most innovative companies in the world as it relates to digital assets. And at Voltage, where I work, we did a lightning report with the Fidelity Digital Assets team where we broke down the growth of the Lightning Network. And this report we're talking about right now is one about Bitcoin Treasury. So Fidelity is one of the leaders, and they understand this digital future that is coming, and Bitcoin is going to play a very central role in all of this. But that's pretty much it. You can go and download the report or view it if you'd like, but I wanted to break down some of these things and just make it simple and easy to understand. If you did like this video, I'm shooting from the hip, just speaking on some stuff, no script, but I want to get your feedback. If you don't mind liking, sharing, commenting, it'd be great. And we'll do this again sometime. So I appreciate it. Talk soon.